What if I told you that death is not the end? That the fragile thread we call life is not a straight line, but a circle, woven endlessly through time, across different bodies, names, and faces? Imagine waking up one day, not only with memories of your childhood, not only of your parents or your past mistakes, but of lifetimes you never knew you lived, centuries ago, in lands you never studied, speaking languages you were never taught. This is not a fantasy, nor the plot of a novel. It is the story of a man who remembered all his past lives. His mind became a mirror of eternity, reflecting existence beyond the narrow boundary of one birth and one death. And his story compels us to ask, what is memory, truly? Is it confined to the brain? Or is there a deeper, timeless reservoir where every soul's journey is inscribed? Throughout history, countless spiritual traditions have whispered about this truth, that reincarnation is not merely a belief, but a fundamental law of existence. From the ancient Upanishads of India to the cryptic verses of the Hermetica, sages and mystics spoke of the soul as an eternal traveler, shedding bodies the way we shed clothes. Yet for most of us, the curtain falls when we are born, and the play of our past lives is erased from memory. But what happens when the curtain is lifted? When a human being can pierce the veil and remember not one, but many previous existences? Such a case not only challenges our understanding of consciousness, but also forces us to reconsider everything we know about identity, destiny, and the purpose of human life. In this video, we will explore the mysterious story of the man who remembered all his past lives, and we will travel far beyond his personal experience. We will dive into the great traditions that spoke of rebirth, the philosophies that explained it, and the hidden mechanics of how memory travels with the soul. We will examine the deeper meaning behind these recollections, why some are given the gift of remembrance while others live in forgetfulness. And most importantly, we will uncover what this knowledge means for you. Because the truth is, whether you remember or not, you too have walked countless roads before this one. You too have been shaped by forgotten choices and unseen karmic bonds. Your present life is not a random accident. It is the continuation of a story far older than you can imagine. So sit with me in this sacred space of reflection. As we unveil this mystery, do not listen merely as a spectator, but as a participant, because the story of this man may very well be a mirror of your own soul's hidden journey. To understand the mystery of a man who remembered all his past lives, we must first step back into the ancient river of wisdom, where the idea of reincarnation has flowed for thousands of years. This is not a modern curiosity. It is a truth that haunted the temples of Egypt, the forests of India, the mountains of Tibet, and the secret schools of Greece. In the Upanishads, written more than 2,500 years ago, the sages declared, "As a man puts off worn-out clothes and puts on new ones, so does the soul put off worn-out bodies and take on new ones." Here, life and death were not enemies, but companions in a cycle of renewal. The soul was never seen as bound to a single life, but as an immortal traveler, returning again and again until it reached liberation. In Buddhist teachings, this cycle is known as samsara. The Buddha himself spoke of his awakening as a remembrance of countless lifetimes. Lives as kings and beggars, as animals and gods, as both the powerful and the powerless. It was through seeing this vast tapestry that he understood the nature of suffering and the path to freedom. In this view, memory of past lives is not a supernatural trick. It is a natural capacity of the awakened mind. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, philosophers like Pythagoras and Plato also taught that the soul was eternal. Plato, in his Myth of described how souls after death choose their next lives based on their desires and lessons yet unlearned. For him, philosophy itself was a preparation for death, a way of remembering what the soul already knew, long before it was born into the body. The Egyptian Book of the Dead echoed a similar truth, that life was a journey through many forms, with each death serving as a doorway, not an end. Their initiates were taught to face death consciously, for only through knowledge of death could one master life itself. But why is it that most of us forget? Why do we live as though we are pages torn from a book, unaware of the chapters that came before? Many traditions say that forgetting is necessary. Imagine if a child carried all the traumas, failures, and regrets of countless lifetimes. It would be unbearable. Forgetfulness is mercy, a veil that allows us to start anew. Yet, hidden deep within, nothing is ever truly lost. Memory remains in the subtle body, in the seed of the soul, waiting for the right conditions to awaken. Throughout history, there have been rare individuals who could pierce this veil. Yogis in deep meditation claim to recall lifetimes of spiritual practice. Tibetan lamas identified as reincarnations of their predecessors, carrying not only memories but also knowledge and habits into new bodies. Even in Western mysticism, the concept of the eternal return whispered that nothing is ever lost, only transformed. So, when we hear of a man who remembered all his past lives, we are not hearing something impossible or alien. We are hearing an echo of truths long known, truths that remind us of the hidden depth of consciousness. His case is not merely about one man. It is about a human potential that exists, perhaps in all of us. The stage is set. We have seen how ancient wisdom framed the mystery of rebirth, but now we must look closer at the extraordinary story itself. Who was this man? What did he remember? And how can his memories help us unlock the secret map of our own souls?
The story of the man who remembered all his past lives is not merely a tale to stir curiosity. It is a key that unlocks profound truths about consciousness. His name was Shanti Devi, though in reality she was a girl born in Delhi, India, in 1926. From the age of 4, she began to describe with startling detail another life, another home, another family in a city far away. She spoke of her husband, her house, even the precise layout of the streets she had walked in a body no longer her own. But Shanti Devi's story is only one among many. Across time, mystics, yogis, monks, and ordinary people have reported similar recollections. And in each case, the memories did not come as vague dreams, but as vivid recollections, so precise they could be verified against real locations, names, and events. These stories beg the question, how is such a thing possible? To understand this, we must explore the nature of memory itself. In ordinary life, we believe that memory is stored in the brain, a fragile network of neurons firing with electrochemical signals. But spiritual traditions teach something far greater. Memory is not in the brain, but in the soul. The brain is a receiver, like a radio picking up signals, but the signal itself exists beyond matter. When the body dies, the receiver breaks, but the broadcast continues. The soul carries the imprint, like a traveler carrying a suitcase filled with the unseen luggage of past experiences. Think of it like a river. The river's water flows continuously, but at each bend, it appears as a new scene. One might mistake each bend for a separate body of water, but in truth, it is all one flowing current. In the same way, lifetimes appear separate, yet the current of the soul flows unbroken, carrying with it impressions, patterns, and unresolved lessons. This is why many of us feel an instant connection when we visit a place for the first time or meet someone and feel as though we have known them forever. These are the ripples of past life memory surfacing, subtle yet undeniable. For the rare few, like Shanti Devi, the river bursts its banks and the memories flood into waking consciousness. Psychologists have struggled to explain these phenomena with ordinary science. Some dismiss them as coincidences or fabrications, but the level of detail in many cases defies such easy answers. Others propose the idea of genetic memory, that we carry the experiences of our ancestors in our DNA. But esoteric traditions say something deeper. What is remembered is not genetic, but karmic. Karma, in this sense, is not punishment or reward, but memory itself. Every thought, word, and action leaves a subtle imprint on the soul, just like every step leaves a footprint in the sand. Over lifetimes, these imprints form a vast library of experience, and just as a skilled meditator can learn to open the hidden pages of that library, sometimes fate grants a child or an untrained individual the accidental key. This is what makes the case of Shanti Devi and others like her so important. They serve as living proof that the soul is not bound by the illusion of a single life. They remind us that our present identity is but one mask in a vast cosmic drama. Beneath it lies an actor who has played many roles on many stages across the ages. In Part 2, we will go even deeper. We will explore what it actually means to remember all past lives. How does such remembrance transform a person? What spiritual lessons are revealed when you see the entire tapestry of your soul? And why, perhaps, forgetting is just as important as remembering.
To remember all past lives is not a gift to be taken lightly. It is both a blessing and a burden. Imagine carrying not just your own memories of childhood and adulthood, but thousands of years of experiences. Wars fought, families lost, loves gained and abandoned, joys of victory and sorrows of betrayal. It is like holding an ocean inside a single cup. The vessel trembles under the weight. The man, or in our earlier example, the child Shanti Devi, who carried such memories, lived at the intersection of two worlds, the ordinary, where people saw her as just another human being, and the eternal, where every life was connected like beads on a rosary. She could not escape the profound truth that identity is fluid. Today she was Shanti Devi, but yesterday she had been Lugdi Devi, the woman she remembered from her previous incarnation. Tomorrow? Who knows? Another form, another name, another lesson. The ancient mystics often warned, remembering is not always liberation. To see all your past lives without spiritual maturity can be overwhelming. It is like opening a library of books all at once. The stories blur and the emotions flood in. This is why many traditions placed such remembrance only in the hands of initiates. The Buddha himself recalled countless lives, but he did so from a state of enlightenment, where he could perceive without attachment. Here lies the paradox. Forgetting is protection, but remembering is awakening. Forgetting allows us to start fresh, unburdened by endless guilt or grief. But remembering awakens us to the vastness of our journey, to the invisible threads weaving cause and effect across centuries. What happens when someone remembers all? They see patterns, invisible to ordinary minds. They see how the same lessons return again and again, like unfinished chapters demanding closure. They understand that the enemies of this life were often companions in another.
They recognize that every choice, no matter how small, ripples forward into future births. Consider how differently one would live if aware that every harsh word might return as an echo in another lifetime, or that every act of kindness might blossom into blessings not yet seen. Such awareness changes the texture of existence. Life is no longer a random accident, but a carefully woven fabric with the soul as the weaver. There is also a deeper esoteric truth. To remember all past lives is not only to look backward, but also to see beyond time itself. In some mystical schools, such as certain streams of Hindu and Buddhist thought, past, present, and future lives are not separate, but simultaneous. Like multiple pages of a book existing all at once, the soul flips between them according to where its attention rests. Memory, then, is not about looking back, but about expanding awareness to embrace all that is. And yet, most who experience such remembrance describe a singular lesson: humility. For if you have been king and beggar, warrior and victim, wise sage and foolish child, what pride can remain? You see that all human roles are temporary masks of the same eternal actor. The only true essence is the soul itself, unchanging, luminous, and eternal. So, the man who remembered all his past lives becomes more than a story. He becomes a mirror, showing us what lies hidden in each of us. His remembrance is rare, but the potential for remembrance lives in all souls. Meditation, deep spiritual practice, and purity of intent can, over time, awaken the inner library of memory. Still, the question remains: should we seek this knowledge? Or is it wiser to let the veil remain? That depends on what we are ready to face, because to see eternity is to accept full responsibility for every thought, word, and action, not just in this life, but in all lives, past and future. In the next section, we will turn from mystery to practice. How can you begin to awaken traces of your own soul's journey? What tools have the sages given us to taste the memory of eternity, and how can you apply them without being overwhelmed?
The story of the man who remembered all his past lives is not only a mystery to marvel at, it is a mirror inviting us to look within. You may not recall every lifetime with absolute clarity, but there are ways to touch the edges of eternity, to awaken subtle echoes of your soul's long journey. The ancient traditions did not leave us empty-handed. They offered techniques to awaken remembrance and deepen our connection to the eternal self. Let us explore these practices together. First, the power of meditation. Nearly every mystical tradition insists that memory of past lives is awakened through meditation. Why? Because meditation quiets the surface of the mind, like a lake growing still until it reflects the stars. When the noise of daily thoughts fades, deeper impressions rise. Try this. Sit in silence, focusing on the breath. Then, with intention, ask your soul to reveal what it carries. Do not force it. Memories may not appear as clear images at first. They may come as feelings, symbols, or an inexplicable familiarity. Trust the subtle language of the soul. Second, the practice of dream recall. Dreams are windows into the subconscious, and often, fragments of past lives surface there. Keep a notebook beside your bed. Upon waking, write down every dream detail, however strange. Over time, patterns emerge. Perhaps you dream repeatedly of a land you've never visited, or of a body that is not yours. These may be fragments of memory, filtering through the veil while you sleep. Third, sacred mantras and sound. In the Vedic tradition, certain mantras are said to awaken spiritual memory. Repetition of sacred syllables like Om Mani Padme Hum or the Gayatri mantra is not mere chanting. It vibrates the subtle body, shaking loose impressions buried deep within. Sound has always been a bridge between the conscious and the eternal. Fourth, regression practices. Some modern seekers experiment with past life regression guided by trained practitioners. While this practice is controversial, it reflects an ancient principle that through altered states of consciousness, memory can surface. Whether symbolic or literal, the images seen in regression often bring healing, as they reveal the hidden roots of fears, desires, or unexplained connections in this life. Fifth, observing present life clues. Even without meditation or regression, your current life holds traces of the past. Strong talents that appear without training, irrational fears, instant bonds with strangers, and déjà vu experiences may all point to past life carryovers. Instead of dismissing these moments, treat them as sacred breadcrumbs, clues left by the soul to guide you back to awareness. Sixth, the attitude of detachment. Here lies the most important teaching. Remembrance must always be coupled with detachment. If you become too attached to who you were, you lose the freedom to grow into who you are meant to become. The past is a teacher, not a prison. Approach it with reverence, but never let it bind you. Overcoming common obstacles. Many seekers grow frustrated when no memory surfaces. But remember, the veil of forgetfulness exists for a reason. If memory has not come, it is because your soul knows you are not yet ready for its weight. Instead of forcing, focus on preparing. Live ethically, cultivate inner silence, and practice compassion. These qualities strengthen the vessel so that when memory does arrive, you will not shatter under its oceanic weight. Fear is another obstacle. Some resist remembrance because they intuitively know it may bring pain, memories of violence, betrayal, or loss. Yet courage transforms even painful memories into wisdom. If fear arises, remind yourself that you are not the roles you once played. You are the eternal actor, unbroken by the masks of time. Practical benefits in daily life. Even without dramatic revelations, these practices transform you. Meditation sharpens awareness. Dream recall deepens intuition. Mantras purify the mind. Observing present life clues help you see yourself not as random, but as purposeful. And perhaps the greatest benefit is humility. When you realize you may have been everything, poor and rich, powerful and powerless, you begin to treat others with compassion. Judgments fall away, and life becomes a school where every encounter is sacred. So, while you may not yet remember all your past lives, you can begin to sense their echoes. And in those echoes lies guidance. Guidance to live more wisely, more fully, more awake. The story of the man who remembered all his past lives is not only about one extraordinary individual, it is about all of us. It is a reminder that what we call life is but a single chapter in a much larger book, a book whose pages extend far into the past and stretch infinitely into the future. When we reflect on such stories, something awakens deep inside. It is the quiet whisper of recognition. I too am older than I appear. I too have walked this earth before. Even if the veil hides the details, the soul knows. This is why certain places stir us, why certain people feel like old companions, why certain fears and longings seem to rise from nowhere. They are echoes, reverberations of a journey far older than our present name. But perhaps the greatest teaching lies not in the desire to remember, but in the willingness to live wisely now. If karma is the memory of the soul, then today's choices are tomorrow's memories. What you plant in this moment becomes the fruit you will one day harvest. In this way, every thought, every word, every act becomes sacred, for it is never lost. It travels with you, shaping the destiny of lifetimes yet to come. The man who remembered all his past lives did not come to show us a curiosity, but to reveal a responsibility. To see eternity is to know that nothing is wasted and nothing is forgotten. The smallest kindness may ripple across centuries. The smallest cruelty may echo until it is healed. You are, in truth, the author of your eternal story. So as you leave this reflection, do not ask only, "Who was I before?" Ask also, "Who am I becoming?" What chapters are you writing with your choices today? How will your soul remember this life when the curtain falls and the stage is set for another? The veil may hide your past, but your present is clear. It is here, now, that the soul's path unfolds. Walk in it with awareness, with compassion, with courage. And know this, though faces and names may change, the essence of who you are remains eternal, luminous, and free. This is the hidden gift of remembrance, not merely to know who you were, but to awaken to who you truly are. If you found these teachings meaningful, take a moment to reflect in silence tonight. Ask your soul to whisper its story. And if you feel called, share in the comments. Have you ever felt echoes of a life before this one?